I remind you, he only took the job on July the 20th, talking about this Premiership being a circuit breaker for Britain. Don't think he realises if you have a circuit breaker, that normally turns the power off, by the way. So I don't know that was the best possible suggestion that he's going to turn the power off. His children are aged 21, 23 and 26, and I'm really on the fence here, which is why I'm quite excited to have this conversation, because I see both arguments. Of course, just 2 weeks into the job, with the scale of the challenges and the changes that he wants to bring about, it seems rather strange that you'll go off to wherever you'll go off to.
Well, there you go. This is GB News Originals. I'm Emily Carver. Please do give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And do leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think Andy...
However, then, he's a man, he has a wife, he has 3 children, high-pressure job. He's not going to see I don't know how much he sees of his children in their early and mid-20s, but obviously he wants to see as much as he can, and speaking as a dad, and of course as a husband again, he wants to see his family. So which is right? Well, I put that to one of his senior colleagues, Justice Secretary Alex Norris.
Well, I understand he's having a few days away with his family. He will be, of course, in regular contact with 10 Downing Street and beyond. And, Nick, I've spoken to him, I reckon, pretty much every day since joining the Cabinet, and I don't think that that's going to change.
Planning a holiday, Mr Norris?
Yes, I'm hoping so, but we'll see.
Just told you a couple of the texts that are coming in. Fergus says, didn't you just have a week off? I didn't agree to that. According to you, everyone needs your special permission to have a break. What a character you are. No, I did actually say right at the top, Fergus, I can see both arguments. I really can, and I will be guided by what you say. Kate says, of course, politicians should have holidays. Plus, poor Andy spent 2 very busy weeks announcing unfunded promises and taking credit for the previous government's work. Andy says, let's give him a break. He's had this holiday already booked. He couldn't have foreseen being Prime Minister when he booked it. Jonathan in Deal in Kent. Burnham may have only been in the job for a short while, but he wasn't exactly unemployed previously. When was his last break? He might never have had one. We don't need a burnt-out Burnham as PM. Adrian in Ainsworth. Which side of the fence do you come down on, Adrian, and why? Good morning.
Well, good morning, Nick. Well, I come down on the side that I think he should be in office getting his new job under control. I can tell you in the past that I worked for a major Korean electronics organisation, and I had to cancel holidays because I was demanded to be in sales meetings in Korea. And, you know, the job came first. And we as a country are in such a mess at the moment that I think the optics of him disappearing at this stage is very poor.
So the man doesn't I'm asking you, the man doesn't have a holiday this year?
Well, I'm not saying this year, but I think 2 weeks in is far too early. I'm sure you know that when you get a new job, it takes you at least 6 months to get a new job fully under control. And to disappear after 6 months, I think, is after 2 weeks is amazing.
So you would have thought, I don't know, late August, a couple of weeks' time. Would it really make that much difference, Adrian?
No, I'm saying I don't think he should have one until maybe 3 or 4 months in, once things are fully under control. We're in such a mess. We've got thousands of people coming across on illegal boats. We've got the highest tax we've ever burdened. We've got high fuel costs. You've got people that can't afford to live properly. And then he disappears. And I just think it looks very poor to the British people.
Adrian, a lot of people agree with you and a lot of people don't. A lot of people say that he needs a break. Jazz says, for heaven's sake, Andy Burnham has gone straight from being the Mayor of Manchester to the Prime Minister. His family holiday was probably booked months ago. Would you prefer him to go on holiday when Parliament are not in recess? Some people need to think this through. Adrian, thanks for your call again. It's very, very rare. I think it's almost exclusive that I don't have a set view. I can see both arguments. Craig's in Nottingham. Craig, what would you say to this? Good morning.
Good morning. I agree with what most people are saying. Andy should be allowed to take this holiday. Under UK employment law, if you go for a new job, Nick, let's say you go for a new job,
but it's not,
and you get it, and you've got a holiday book, that employer has to honour that holiday. Now, is the PM, it's an important job, I totally get that.
Craig, this is the Prime Minister, it's not any regular job.
I know, Nick,
it's
but
not
Parliament are in recess, which is when parliamentarians go on holiday. That's why we have 6 weeks holidays for the children, so that children can go on holiday. You're not...
But, my dear fellow, if you took over a football club, if you became the editor of a newspaper, if you took over a bank, you would not go on holiday after 2 weeks, would you?
I probably would, yeah.
Well, I think you'd lose the fans, and you'd certainly lose the newsroom if you did something like that. Craig, thank you.
I would wait. I would go on holiday first, and then I would take up the job after.
But you're campaigning, you're You're out there on the stump. You're electioneering. There we are. You're electioneering to make sure that you get the job. So you can't. You've got to be 2 or 3 weeks wandering around Makerfield. That ain't going to work, is it?
Well, yeah, but he's done that though, isn't he?
Yeah, but
he's already.
So he gets the Makerfield job, having campaigned and elected and he successfully. The next day or 2 days later, I can't remember, he's in the House of Commons, and then everything happens around him. He didn't have a choice, did he? What do you think, Paul?
The 2-week holiday that has Westminster talking. Just how exposed is Andy Burnham? There is something almost theatrical about promising the country a circuit breaker, walking into Downing Street on a wave of relief, and then, a fortnight later, walking straight past the departures gate at the airport. Welcome to Britain Underneath, the channel that strips away the polish of Westminster and shows you what is really driving decisions at the top of British politics. Before we get into today's story, take a moment, stay with us, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel keep producing the kind of sharp, honest political analysis you won't find dressed up in sound bites elsewhere. Now, let's dive into it. Andy Burnham became Prime Minister on the 20th of July, arriving with the kind of language usually reserved for national emergencies. He talked of ending instability, of restoring public trust, of being the man who could finally slow the revolving door at number 10 after 6 leaders in a decade. Big words, big promises. And then, roughly 2 weeks later, he boarded a flight for a family holiday abroad, leaving behind a country still working through economic strain, service pressures, and a public that is frankly exhausted by broken assurances. His team's defence has been fairly predictable. Aides insist the trip was booked long before he ever became party leader, that modern government does not stop simply because the Prime Minister is somewhere warmer than Downing Street, and that secure phones and video calls mean he remains fully across every brief. There is some truth in that. No serious person expects a Prime Minister to be physically chained to his desk 24 hours a day. Leaders take breaks. Even wartime leaders slept occasionally. But politics rarely rewards fairness. It rewards perception, and the perception here is bruising. Reform's Lee Anderson didn't hold back, accusing Burnham of, in his words, bunking off for a jolly abroad and suggesting the Prime Minister isn't serious about a job. Commentators have gone further, drawing comparisons to newly appointed football managers or chief executives who vanish for a week's leave before they've even learned where the toilets are in the building. Nobody would tolerate that from a bank boss. Why should a Prime Minister be any different? Especially one who built his entire pitch around urgency. If you're finding this breakdown useful, this is exactly the kind of story Britain Underneath exists to unpack properly, without the noise. So take a breath, stay informed, and if you're enjoying this, please do subscribe. It costs nothing, and it keeps this analysis coming week after week. Here's the deeper issue. Burnham didn't arrive through a general election. He arrived through internal Labour turmoil, stepping in mid-term with no fresh national mandate behind him. That matters. A leader who inherits the job rather than earns it through the ballot box has to work far harder in those opening weeks to establish command, both over the country and over his own restless backbenchers. Every gesture is read as a signal. Every absence becomes a headline. When Keir Starmer's own first summer in office was disrupted by the 2024 riots, he cut his holiday short almost immediately because the optics of staying away were unthinkable. Burnham, by contrast, has chosen to stay the course on his family trip, betting that voters will see it as basic human normality rather than political negligence. That bet might pay off, or it might not, because the criticism hasn't been limited to political rivals scoring easy points. Lissy Harper, widow of murdered police officer Andrew Harper, has been fiercely critical of decisions made under his watch, calling elements of it a betrayal. When victims' families are joining the chorus, it stops being a simple Westminster squabble and starts becoming a genuine reputational problem. There's also the small matter of timing. The autumn fiscal statement looms. Treasury planning doesn't pause for August. Diplomatic briefings, departmental strategy, the machinery of a fragile governing party still finding its feet, none of that waits patiently for a Prime Minister to finish his holiday. Downing Street insists nothing is falling behind, but a physically absent leader during a formative stretch of his premiership leaves space, and in politics, space always gets filled by someone else's narrative.
Before we get to where this might be heading, remember to subscribe to Britain Underneath. Every subscriber tells us this kind of grounded political breakdown matters, and it's the single easiest way to support the channel. So, where does this actually leave Burnham? In isolation, a summer break barely matters. In 6 months, nobody will remember the dates. But first impressions in politics are sticky. They become the lens through which everything else gets judged. If Burnham returns from recess with a commanding agenda, decisive economic messaging, and visible grip on his own party, this story fades into a footnote. If his government instead looks hesitant or reactive in the weeks ahead, expect every commentator in the country to trace it right back to this moment. The Prime Minister who chose the beach over the briefing room in his opening fortnight. That's really what this whole episode boils down to. Not really about a holiday, about whether Britain wants a Prime Minister who protects his own boundaries like anyone else, or one who is expected to sacrifice every ounce of personal life the second he takes the job. The public will decide that answer soon enough, and how Burnham responds when Parliament returns will tell us a great deal about the Premiership still to come. Thanks for spending this time with Britain Underneath. If you want more of this, honest, unfiltered, no political spin, subscribe now so you never miss what happens next in this story, and we'll see you very soon for the next deep dive into what's really going on beneath the surface of British politics.